Hello, hello, Gemini. Welcome to your 2020 overview reading. Oh man, I cannot believe it. So I know that some of you probably want to get your notebooks out, your pens to take notes throughout this reading. I'm going to try to break this down by category as much as I can, so I hope this reading is easy to follow along. And before we get started, don't forget, if you would like to get notifications for when I do the tarot pop-up, which will be happening this month, sign up for my newsletter. It is in the description box, or go to onyxhealing.com so you can stay up to date. The demand for the tarot pop-up will be high. I'm just going to give you a warning right now, so make sure you stay up to date on that. And if you need to work with me, go to onyxhealing.com and follow me on Instagram at Onyx Healing if you want more fun content, Q&As, all sorts of good stuff, extra readings to carry with you. And you also, if you sign up for my newsletter, you get a reading sent to your inbox every single Sunday. And without further ado, let me lay this spread out for you, and then we will get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with your oracle cards. So the big themes for you in 2020. First thing is, I am accepting. Right, so I see acceptance as having a lot of neutrality, so not being nearly as emotionally reactive, right? Because when you're super emotionally reactive, you're not in a state of acceptance. A lot of the time, that's one of the symptoms that can come along with that. And so I just see this as, it doesn't mean you're gonna walk through like a robot in 2020, but really the main thing is that getting yourself into a space where you accept maybe some circumstances or some relationships, being able to just come from that neutral space when it comes to how things are, how people are, can help you navigate the situation differently rather than wanting to pull your hair out because things aren't going your way or you're not in acceptance about something. So really, it's a state to be in for your own sanity. That's really what this is helping you with. And then we also have reflect. Okay, so that is also what this is helping you with as well. These cards are really playing together. The acceptance and reflection piece are going to help steer you throughout 2020. It's just going to be a big support for you. So definitely carry this with you. Make it a year of reflection and kind of slowing down, not just jumping from thing to thing, but actually pacing yourself, getting into a position that you want to be in. The Sovereign Oracle card for you, recreate, take a break, it will be there when you return. See, it's about that slowing down. Try a fresh start, the results might surprise you. Genius requires action and rest to be made manifest. Okay. So reflection when it comes to your process is going to be really helpful, and just slowing down enough to really observe yourself and make necessary adjustments where necessary, or to find your internal stability as you're wandering through this whole earth body human thing that we do. And we have peace. Yeah, so all of this is really pushing you into a great sense of stability, because stability, while yes, external stuff can really make us feel destabilized, right? That happens all the time. The more you can kind of sway or go with the flow of the things that are coming up and ground yourself through the storms, wherever that might be, wherever that pops up, that's really what's going to bring you great peace in 2020. So use all of these tools to your advantage this year. The central energy for you in 2020 is the Hierophant. Yes, okay, so structure is your best friend in 2020. It is going to be so helpful to have boundaries, being able to evaluate what's working and what's not, and just keeping promises to yourself is an important part of that process as well. Not just looking at it as having boundaries for the sake of boundaries, but really what are those in the service of? What are they doing for you? And trusting yourself when it comes to that. And it's kind of like, for example, if you work for yourself and so you're working 7 days a week, you know, what would happen if you put a boundary around maybe 1 day a week off? What would that do for your energy? What would that do for your time? What would that do for everything else that you have going on? So just thinking about things from a different vantage point when it comes to restrictions and limitations. The challenge for you is the Two of Wands. Impatience is the obstacle. Wanting to see things pay off immediately is the thing that's coming up here, because the Two of Wands is kind of like you're getting ready, you're creating the nest for the thing that you desire to come into your space. But the thing that trips people up with the Two of Wands is that they get overly fixated on waiting. Like, why am I always waiting? You know, and they get really crabby about that. And so the Two of Wands in this case is highlighting impatience. That is the obstacle. If you're wanting something really big, then the time to create that might be a bit longer. And so you want to practice not being overly fixated on when it's going to happen and putting a rush order on things. That's not going to be effective for you in 2020. It's more about creating helpful constraints where necessary and finding your inner stability and peace first. And that's actually what helps things come in faster. What you have shifting out, or what you're clearing out. Okay, so this is a waning gibbous, I believe. I checked myself on this. It's actually a waxing gibbous. And so the main thing that I'm seeing come up in this reading is like, this is a patience card. So this in itself is a waiting card. Like, you've planted the seeds, you've done all the things, you're nurturing your sprouts, you're doing all that stuff, but the fruit isn't there yet. And so that's why I'm getting this crankiness off of the Two of Wands, right? Because you've already done this process. And so now you're in the midst of sustaining the things that you've put in. Like sustaining your efforts and making sure that everything is in its rightful place as you walk through this. So I don't consider this to be like you're waiting forever, or something is never going to come in, or it's never going to happen. I don't think that that's the case at all. I think it's just like you don't want to get fatigued or overly fixated on something outside of yourself. That's why this year is all about peace, reflection, acceptance, because that's going to help things become expedited rather than you constantly longing and wanting for something. That's a normal human thing to do, but I'm just seeing this as you kind of evolving out of that and grounding yourself while these things roll in, while you're building what you want. And then the oncoming energy is the sun. So see, this is like pleasure, fun, happiness. I'm going to clarify this. It's a childlike energy about this card. Queen of Spades. Okay, so this is equivalent to the Queen of Swords. And it's like doing things your own way, not being afraid of doing things how you want to do them, and knowing that that's where you're really going to be able to celebrate your successes, celebrate your wins. And there is a lot of that on the horizon in 2020. It's just about if you get into the cycle of meeting a goal and then you don't even take any time to enjoy it and you just jump to the next goal, you're constantly going to be in a space of dissatisfaction. And so this year is really about practicing being present, sustaining what you're doing, and also enjoying yourself throughout this. Because it seems like this is, yes, victory, getting what you want, carving your path, doing it your way, having things roll in. But it's also about kind of balancing this with, you know, enjoying what you're doing overall. It can't just be a quick hit of satisfaction. Like, if that's what you're going for, then it's going to be a really long, grueling road. So you kind of want to find some bliss wherever you can, finding that for yourself, making that a normal part of your life, And that's really going to support you in 2020. Now let's get into more of the environmental stuff. So let's go ahead and look at your career, or I like to think about this as a project, a pursuit, a goal you're trying to reach, whatever it is. It can be career or not. We have the Knight of Wands, so you have a lot of energy to pour into it. And that's the main thing that's coming up here, is just I'm able to dump a whole bunch of energy onto that. It fuels it and gets it to grow. So in terms of whatever you're pursuing or trying to make happen, the energy is behind that. So your long-term projects are definitely supported. Your job is just to maintain your personal boundaries so that you can see these things through, so that they can come to life. And that's going to be the biggest help for you in 2020 when it comes to those goals, is sustaining that energy, making what you desire a priority, and then putting action behind it is going to really bring it to life. And then let's look at relationships. These can be love, these can be platonic, whatever type of relationships you're looking for. This will fall into that category. We have the World. You need to think a little bit broader when it comes to relationships. So it's kind of like the strategy that I would implement here with this World card is think less about soothing an emotion in the moment, right? So if you're lonely or if you're really needing connection, you don't want to just, from that space of desperation or fear, go out and seek something to make that shift quickly. Instead, you want to think about, what am I really building in the long-term big picture? Because I mean, someone that really isn't in alignment with you, but that's just filling a void, that's not going to be a smart move. And so this World card is really highlighting, be a little bit slower in your relationships, think bigger picture, think long term, think, what am I needing? Like what type of relationships do I need in my life? What would feel good? What would inspire the type of quality of connection, harmony, and experiences that I'm looking for in this lifetime? So you want to zoom out on relationships in 2020. That's going to be the best approach, is not getting too wrapped up in identifying yourself with the quantity of relationships that you have in your life. For example, quality over quantity. I know Gemini is the networker sign, so that can be kind of challenging if you are kind of a natural networker, if that archetype runs really strong for you. But the World is just saying, pace yourself with that. Be very intentional about who you're calling into your space, and you're going to get way better results from that. So be intentional. And then we have your material world. So think money, home, the material, what you're creating there in 2020. Okay, so we have the quarter moon. Once again, this highlights stability. So you are really the one who's in charge of how you create that stability for yourself, what that really looks like and what that means for you. But all in all, it kind of goes back to finding peace, finding calm, finding that for yourself. Because if you get, right, the attachment to things outside of yourself, which is really, really hard to master, not feeling that way. It's something where even if you had millions, you could still experience the feelings of fear over losing it, or not having enough, even no matter how much your income grows. Like, those things can exist at any stage in the game. It's not just a specific set of circumstances that creates that. And so right here, this is telling you, grounding yourself and creating roots for anything that comes up is going to be the best strategy for you to magnetize more to you. I'm going to clarify this one as well. Okay, so we have the Jack of Clubs, or the Jack of Wands. And I'm getting that it really is about taking inspired action where necessary. That's going to be a great approach for you when it comes to your financial situation, your material situation. Just like over here with the Knight of Wands, putting energy behind the goal, putting energy behind what you want, that's really coming up in money as well. It's the best strategy for you, so that the more action you take, not desperate action, really aligned action that feels good and is going to inspire that sense of stability. Focus on feeling in order to create the form. Focus on grounding yourself in order to create the form and to magnetize more to your space. And then this is advice for you in 2020, Ace of Pentacles. Know that you've got it. This is initiation energy. So it's like if you're initiating something in 2020, it's like you have the energy to make it happen. You have the energy for it to get there, for it to become a fully baked project that's absolutely a part of this. And so the Ace of Pentacles is really just reminding you to plant the seed, to initiate where necessary. If you want to focus on something, then make it a project. Like really define what that is. I think that for you, the big thing that I would recommend doing in order to support you best throughout the year is set really concrete intentions or goals, right? Whatever you like to set, whether it be intentions or goals, or give yourself something clear and defined to aim at. Like make it measurable for yourself and make it something that really feels good to you. That is going to serve you so much better in 2020 than kind of wanting to do it all. Like, I don't think you need to tackle every single area of your life in 2020, just to make a few really clear set intentions. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Like, don't aim for world peace, ultimate sustainability, harmonious relationships, a thriving friend group, getting your health in order. It's kind of like, okay, yes, that's what we all aim for, but think about doing a few things really, really exceptionally well in 2020 rather than trying to perfect your life overnight. Because a lot of these long-term projects need time to grow, and you need to really define where your energy is going. Don't necessarily tackle every area of your life. So the Ace of Pentacles is saying refine, specify what it is that you're aiming for, and just pick a few things that are measurable that you can consciously and effectively work on throughout 2020. And I think that that's going to be just a great way for you to celebrate your successes and actually make that happen. Because when you think about it, if you were scattering your energy too much, then the things that you really want will take longer to grow because you're not putting enough energy behind the things that really matter. So you want to keep that in mind as well. Energetic allocation is a big factor here. Now let's get into the timeline. First, second, third, and fourth quarter. These are 3 months each. So the first quarter of 2020, we have the Hierophant coming up again. So this is about, again, pacing yourself when it comes to your goals, right? Because we all know the really common thing that people do is they set a massive goal in January, they give up by February. Don't do that to yourself. Like, pick something very small. That's why I'm saying don't aim to achieve every single goal possible in 2020. Don't do that. It's just going to apply too much pressure to yourself, and it's not going to feel good. Like, really focus on feeling good about a few things that you're working on and just make that sustainable. Weave that into your lifestyle. Not just something that you're doing one time, but really weave it into how you structure your life. That's also what the Hierophant is highlighting here. It's not the one-off. It's not the immediate burst of energy. It's sustainability. It's, about that peace and acceptance, finding that stable force within you, and that's going to bring everything else to life in 2020. The second quarter, we have Temperance, balance, sustainability, blah, blah, blah. So this second quarter is really about just making sure things are being maintained. So you're going from implementing the boundaries, right? Using more of the masculine to ground out the habits and refine exactly what you're doing, because this is about stopping bad habits or implementing habits, being in that space of structure, and then this is just maintenance. Second quarter, you're in maintenance mode. I'm really seeing a lot of that. So maybe it has something to do with your health or your work or your projects, whatever. The maintenance coming off of this card is really clear. Third quarter, we have the Devil. Temptations, I think there's some distractions coming up in this third quarter, or like maybe getting shiny object syndrome, right? It's really hard to focus in on a few goals or a few things that you really want for a long period of time, right? That in itself is a skill that you can develop. And so the Devil is just like, oh, well, maybe you should just jump ship and work on something else or try something different, or, you know, maybe you're bored in that relationship, you want something different. I mean, it's just the idea that, well, maybe if I shift this thing, then I'm going to get a fresh start. Don't buy in during this quarter. Don't buy into the idea that change in the external automatically equals fresh start. That's definitely not the case. And so this is just giving you a warning that if you just fall into that every time, then a lot of the stuff you're wanting isn't going to be sustained because you're flip-flopping on where your energy is going. It's kind of like going to a restaurant and changing your order every 5 minutes. You don't want to do that. So stay attached to your why and your understanding of why you want what you want, or why you're aiming at what you're aiming at. It's okay to make adjustments to what you're asking for, but just make sure you're not basically going into something that isn't going to bear fruit. That's kind of what the Devil is highlighting. It's all temptation, but nothing sits behind it. And so you might need to reflect and update what you're asking for, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily want to reinvent the wheel or rewrite every single intention that you had at the beginning of 2020. So that's kind of the way I see it. There's definitely going to be changes, right? Where you are in January is not going to be the same place that you're at in September, but just know that the Devil here is highlighting, go slow with all of this. Don't just jump in that third quarter. And then the fourth quarter, wrapping up 2020, we have King of Coins. See, I'm telling you, like, if you're just able to maintain your energy, this is the payoff. So this is stability, abundance. You know, this is a great financial card. It's a great card for just being super grounded within yourself, which is what this year is all about for you. And having your needs met. That's what the King of Coins has mastery over the material world, mastery over the elements that we all desire in terms of material goods. So that's a nice card to have. And then let's do a 3-card pick. So you're welcome to pick a card, any card. Ask a question if you'd like. Ask for clarity, whatever it is that you're needing at this time. Card number 1. 2 of Chalices. Okay, connection, collaboration. This is a very, very intense relationship card. So there's a lot of chemistry coming off of this card. I think it's about making the right connections. So this is either the solution, or if you're asking something more specific about like, oh, how is this going to go? It's about just finding the right type of chemistry, the right type of person, the right type of opportunity. It's kind of like that Goldilocks experience of things being just right. So that's what the 2 of Cups is highlighting here. And then card number 2, we have the Ace of Chalices. Okay, so giving to yourself in a big way is the important factor. Whatever you're asking about, you want to take it back to, what am I giving to myself? What am I telling myself? What am I holding within myself? What am I embodying? What type of self-talk do I have going on? Really evaluate what quality of stuff you're giving to yourself, and that will often paint a picture of what you have going on in your environment. And then card number 3, we have the 4 of Swords. So you need to figure out where rest really fits in for you and what that means to you. The other thing that's coming off of this is like using procrastination or rest as a way to kind of escape. I know I'm contradicting myself right now, but let me explain. Some of you are going to be on the side of feeling into rest as being a way to not take the necessary action. Some of you might be on the other side, which is spinning your wheels in the mud and needing to rest. So whichever side you're on, just know that you're going to want to take close inventory, take stock of what your energy is doing, what feels good to you, what makes sense for you, and adjust accordingly. But the rest piece, the energy piece, either where you're putting it or how you're giving it back to yourself, is going to be what makes or breaks the situation you're asking about. And it's also going to be what supports you. Thank you so much for joining me today, everybody. I absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget, if you want to know which decks I used in this reading, they are listed in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe so you have more supportive videos throughout your 2020. And don't forget to watch your sun, moon, and rising if you haven't already. And if you want to know how to work with me one-on-one, go to onyxhealing.com or check out the description box for all of the fun stuff that I have to offer. And until next time, have a beautiful 2020, everybody, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.